What's new in August of 2024? Hello and welcome to my monthly series where I try and find as many fantasy new releases as I can for us to see which ones sound cool and which ones you'll get into. And with that said, let's get into it. On August 2nd, we have a Dirge for Cascius Part 1 by Calum, Lott. Chaos seeps into the Valsolis galaxy. Addicted to reliving the sorrows of the past 2 centuries, Cascius Carside is on the brink of letting his addiction claim his mind. When the sages demand he take a new partner, Cascius must forfeit his old ways in order to solve the twisted Red Hand murders. To unravel an interstellar mystery and stop the Red Hand, Cascius must pull himself from the very depths of despair and learn to change before the entire Velutra falls into oblivion. Stare too long into the abyss, and the abyss peers back. True Detective meets Hyperion in this epic space opera debut. Then on August 6th, we have quite a few novels coming out, and we will start with Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. The lady knows the stories. Her eyes induce madness in the men. The lady knows she will be wed to the Scottish brute, who does not leave his warrior ways behind when he comes to the marriage bed. The lady knows his hostile, suspicious court will be a game of strategy, requiring all of her wiles and hidden witchcraft to survive. But the lady does not know her husband has occult secrets of his own. She does not know that prophecy girds him like armor. She does not know that her magic is greater and more dangerous, and that it will threaten the order of the world. She does not know this yet, but she will. Then we have The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Djeli Clark. The dead cattail assassins are not cats, nor do they have tails, but they are most assuredly dead. Veen the Eviscerator is skilled, discreet, professional, and here for your most pressuring needs in the ancient city of Talabasi. Her guild is strong, her blades are sharp, and her rules are simple. Those sworn to the matron of assassins, resurrected deadly wiped of their memories, have only 3 unbreakable vows. First, the contract must be just. That's above Aveen's pay grade. Second, even the most powerful assassin may only kill the contracted. Aveen's a professional. She's never missed her mark. The third, and once you accept the job, you must carry it out. And if you stray, a final death would be a mercy. When the festival of the Clockwork King turns the city upside down, Aveen's newest mission brings her face to face with a past she isn't supposed to remember and a vow she can't forget. Then we have The Heir of Venus by Laura Shepperson. To the world, he's a legend. To her, he's a liar. Lavinia never asked to be fought over, but now Turnus, her childhood sweetheart, has waged a war that threatens to destroy all she holds dear because Lavinia's father has promised her to somebody else. Aeneas, rumored to be the son of Venus, is famed for his bravery, cunning, and his vision for a new great empire. He is also secretive, slippery, and Lavinia wonders why he will never discuss the past he's left behind. So when a stranger arrives in the camp with stories about Aeneas that suggest he is not what she seems, Lavinia realizes she has to take her future and that of her people into her own hands. Then we have The Girl with No Reflection by Keshe Chow. Princess Ying Ye believed in love once upon a time. Yet when she's chosen to wed the crown prince, Ying's dreams of a fairy tale marriage quickly fall apart. Her husband-to-be is cold and indifferent, confining Ying to her room for reasons he won't explain. Worse still are the rumors that swirl around the imperial whispers of 7 other royal brides who, after their own weddings, mysteriously disappeared. Left alone with her own reflection for company, Ying begins to see things, strange things, movements in the corner of her mirror, colorful lights upon its surface, and when, on the eve of her wedding, she unwittingly tears open a gateway, she is pulled into a mirror world. This realm is full of sentient reflections, including the enigmatic Mirror Prince. Unlike his real-world counterpart, the Mirror Prince is kind and compassionate, and before long, Ying falls in love. The kind of love she always dreamed of. But there is darkness in this new world too. Turns out the two worlds have a long and blood-soaked history, and Ying has a part to play in the future of them both. The brides who came before Ying, by the time they discovered what their role was, it was already too late. And then we have Medici Heist by Caitlin Scheiderhan. Welcome to Florence, 1517, a world of intrigue, opulence, secrets, and murder. The Medici family rules the city from their seat of wealth, but the people of Florence remember the few decades they spent as a republic, free from the Medicis and their puppet Pope Leo X. Sharp-witted 17-year-old con woman Rosa Cellini has plans for the Pope and the Medicis, and more specifically, the mountain of indulgence money they've been extorting from the people of Tuscany. To pull off the Renaissance's greatest robbery, she'll recruit a team of capable Sarah the Tinkerer, Khalid the Fighter, and Giacomo the irrepressible master of disguise. To top it all off, and to smooth their entrance into the fortress-like Palazzo Medici, Rosa even enlists the reluctant help of famed artist and local misanthrope Michelangelo. Old secrets resurface and tensions in the gang flare as the authorities draw closer and the Medici's noose pulls tighter around Tuscany itself. What began as robbery becomes a bid to save Florence from certain destruction if Rosa and company don't destroy each other first. Next we have This Ravenous Fate by Hayley Dennings. It's 1926 and the Reapers, the once human vampires with a terrifying affliction, are on the rise in New York. But the Saints family thriving Reaper hunting enterprise holds reign over the city, giving them more power than even the organized criminals who run the nightclubs. 18-year-old Elise Saint, home from 5 years in Paris, is the reluctant heir to the empire. Only one thing weighs heavier on Elise's mind than her family obligations, the knowledge that the Harlem Reapers want her dead. Layla Quinn is a young Reaper haunted by her past. Though Reapers have existed in America for 3 centuries, created by New World atrocities and cruel experiments, Layla became one just 5 years ago. The night she was turned, she lost her parents, the protection of the Saints, and her humanity, and she'll never forget how Elise Saint betrayed her. Some Reapers are inexplicably turning part human again, leaving a wake of mysterious and brutal killings. When Layla is framed for one of these attacks, the Saint Patriarch offers her a deal she can't refuse: to work with Elise to investigate how these murders might be linked to shocking rumors of a Reaper cure. Once close friends, now bitter enemies, Elise and Layla explore the city's underworld, confronting their intense feelings for one another and uncovering the sinister truths about a growing threat to Reapers and humans alike. Then we have Gilgamesh by Emily H. Wilson, which is book 2 in the Sumerians trilogy. Now is the time of the gods of war. Gilgamesh, soon to be crowned king of Uruk, travels north to find his homelands in flames and his family on the run. A blood-red moon brings warnings of a new kind of war, and in the far north, the enemies of summer are amassing. Inanna and Ninshabar sail south to take their revenge upon Enki, the king of the water gods. Armed with the Master Me and struggling to understand its true nature, Inanna will face impossible demons in her quest to fully comprehend the power she has inherited. Meanwhile, Ereshkigal, queen of the underworld, has a mysterious visitor. The dark stranger brings with him the threat of dangers far more terrible than Enki, or even Summer's warlike neighbors. Because a long time ago, in a realm far away, a little girl was taken from her family. Now, a vengeance long prophesied is about to unfold. As the forces of chaos rise across the Riverlands, Gilgamesh must battle against overwhelming odds to save the city he loves, and the Anunnaki will soon discover that no one can escape the sins of the past, not even the gods. And then last, on the 6th, we have A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. Cordelia knows her mother is unusual. Their house doesn't have any doors between rooms, and her mother doesn't allow Cordelia to have a single friend. Unless you count Falada, her mother's beautiful white horse. The only time Cordelia feels truly free is on her daily rides with him. But more than simple eccentricity sets her mother apart. Other mothers don't force their daughters to be silent and motionless for hours, sometimes days on end. Other mothers aren't sorcerers. After a suspicious death in their small town, Cordelia's mother insists they leave in the middle of the night, riding away on Falada's sturdy back, leaving behind all Cordelia has ever known. They arrive at a remote country manor of a wealthy older man, the squire, and his unwed sister, Hester. Cordelia's mother intends to lure the squire into marriage, and Cordelia knows this can only be bad news for the bumbling gentleman and his kind, intelligent sister. Hester sees the way Cordelia shrinks away from her mother, how the young girl sits eerily still at dinner every night. Hester knows that to save her brother from bewitchment and to rescue the terrified Cordelia, she will have to face down a wicked witch of the worst kind. Then on August 8th, we have Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maehrer. What happens when the assistant becomes something more? Find out in this hilarious and heartwarming follow-up to the Assistant to the Villain. That's it. Assistant to the Villain. Assistant wanted. Notorious high-ranking villain seeks loyal, level-headed assistant for unspecified office duties, supporting staff for random mayhem, terror, and other dark things in general. Discretion a must, excellent benefits. With ailing family to support, Evie Sage's employment status isn't just important, it's vital. So when a mishap with Renadon's most infamous villain results in a job offer, naturally she says yes. No job is perfect, of course, but even less so when you develop a teeny crush on your terrifying, temperamental, and undeniably hot boss. Don't find evil so attractive, Evie. But just when she's getting used to severed heads suspending from the ceiling and the odd squish of an errant eyeball beneath her heel, Evie suspects this dungeon has a huge rat. And not just the literal kind, because something rotten is growing in the kingdom of Renadon, and someone wants to take the villain and his entire nefarious empire out. Now Evie must not only resist drooling over her boss, but also figure out exactly who is sabotaging his work and ensure he makes them pay. After all, a good job is hard to find. Then on August 13th, we have quite a bit of novels coming out, and we'll start with Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. The daughter of a powerful but disgraced blood worker, Jeanne Leclerc has spent her entire life perfecting her blood magic, building her network of spies and gathering every scrap of power she could. Now, to protect her brother, she assassinates their father and takes her place at the head of the family, and that is only the start of her revenge. Samuel Hutchinson is a bastard with a terrible gift. When he stumbles upon the first victim of a magical serial killer, he's drawn into the world of magic and intrigue he's worked so hard to avoid, and is pulled deeply into the ravenous and bloodthirsty court of the Vampire King. Tasked by the Eternal King to discover the identity of the killer cutting a bloody swath through the city, Samuel, Shan, and mysterious royal bloodworker Isaac find themselves growing even closer to each other, but Shan's plans are treacherous, and as she lures Samuel into her complicated web of desire, treason, and vengeance, he must decide if the good of their nation is worth the costs of his soul. Then we have Born of Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. While Sarah is finally free of Colas and back with those she loves, not everything is calm. Memories of all she's endured still haunt her, but Sarah finally has hope for the future with the other half of her heart and soul. Nyktos desires, loves, and accepts every part of her, even the monstrous bits she still battles. More than ever, Sarah and Ash have everything under the realms to fight for, and Nyktos has no doubt Sarah is fit to be queen of the gods. But she must find that faith within herself is if they hope to convince the other courts to support them against Colas and make Elysium and the mortal realm better, safer places for all. But as Sarah begins to piece together the importance of her bloodline and the true meaning behind the foreboding prophecy, it becomes clear that everything that has happened is yet to come is much bigger than Colas and his dark obsessions. They cannot help but wonder exactly how much influence the Fates have had and what their ultimate goal is. What Sarah does know for sure is that they can trust very few, including her. A battle between the gods is brewing, and heartbreaking losses are imminent, with the true primal of death strengthening. With the family of the heart willing to battle by their side, can Sarah and Niktos stop Colas before he destroys the realms, or will it all disappear into a fiery inferno of blood and ash? Then we have Doors of Midnight by R.R. Virdi. Myths begin and a storyteller's tale deepens, in the essential sequel to R.R. Virdi's breakout Silk Road-inspired epic fantasy debut, The First Binding. Ari the Binder's legends spans continents and eras, moving in and out of myth as easy as the wind, as tales of their echoes spread across a sun-drenched land. Now the storyteller himself awaits judgment for the murder of a prince. The stories say he has killed more than one, but what is truth and what is a man if not a liar? As the telling of the storyteller's past grows, so too does the list of his enemies and of mysteries yet to be solved. Then we have Ghostsmith by Nicki Preto. In this action-packed finale to the House of the Dead duology, Ren and her friends put everything they know to the test as they battle the living and the undead to save their world. Ren is still reeling from the revelation that the mother she thought was dead is actually the Corpse Queen, a ghostsmith with the terrifying power to control the undead. It was Ren's own mother who created the Iron Revenants, an army of near unbeatable undead soldiers. When the Iron Revenants attack, no one in the Dominions will have the strength to stand in their way. Now Ren, Leo, and Julian find themselves once more in the breach, this time on the run from Ren's father, who is determined to secure more power for himself and the House of Bone. The three are desperate to stop the upcoming war, but working together is easier said than done, with Julian still furious about Ren double-crossing him. And to make matters worse, Ren is plagued by powerful new abilities that force her to reassess everything she knows about being a bonesmith. When Ren's long-lost twin brother shows up and vows to help her destroy the well of magic that feeds the Iron Revenants, she must decide if trusting him is worth potentially playing right into their mother's hands. After all, the dead might be dangerous, but it's the living who can betray you. That one sounds like it has a lot of spoilers, but maybe I'll forget them when I read the first book. And then last on the 13th, we have The Dollmakers by Lynn Buchanan. In this dark and enchanting standalone fantasy from debut author Lynn Buchanan, discover a world centered around destructive, all-consuming monsters, the magical dolls designed to fight this force, and the artisans tasked with creating demon-slaying dolls. A touch cozy fantasy and a touch horror, The Dollmakers is perfect for fans of Studio Ghibli films, the work of T.J. Klune and Travis Baldree, and readers of Juniper and Thorn and the Goblin Emperor. In the country called One, dollmakers are vital members of the community. An artisan's doll is the height of society's accomplishments, while a guard's doll is the only thing that's standing between the people of One and the vicious, cobbled monstrosities that will tear apart any structure, living or dead, inanimate or otherwise, to add to their horde. Apprentice Sean of Pearl is a brilliant doll maker. With her clever dolls, she intends to outsmart and destroy the Shad once and for all, a destiny she's worked her whole life towards accomplishing. But when the time comes for her dolls to be licensed, she's told her work is too beautiful and delicate to fight. A statement that wounds and infuriates her. The Shad killed everyone she loved. How could her fate be anything but fighting them? In an attempt to help her see a new path for herself, Sean's mentor sends her on a journey to the remote village called Webb, urging her to glean some wisdom from Ikisa, a reclusive, well-respected guard doll maker. But Sean has another if she can convince the village of Webb of her talents. The licensor guild will have to reconsider and grant her a guard's license. And what better way to convince them than challenging Akisa and instating herself as the official dollmaker of Webb. Once she's done that, providing her doll's worth in the fight against the Shad will be simple. As simple, that is, as calling the Shad to Webb. And actually, last on the 13th, we have The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean. As head Phoenix Keeper at the world-renowned zoo for magical creatures, Ayla's childhood dream of conserving critically endangered firebirds seems closer than ever. There's just one glaring caveat. Her zoo's breeding program hasn't functioned for a decade. When a tragic Phoenix heist sabotages the flagship initiative at a neighboring zoo, Ayla must prove her derelict facilities are fit to take the reins. But saving an entire species from extinction requires more than stellar animal handling skills. Carnivorous water horses, tempestuous thunderhawks, mischievous dragons. Ayla has no problem wrangling beasts. Inspiring zoo patrons? That's another story. Mustering the courage to ask for help from the hotshot Griffin Keeper at the zoo's most popular exhibit? Virtually impossible. Especially when the hotshot Griffin Keeper in question just so happens to be her arch-rival from college, Luciana, an annoyingly brooding and even more annoyingly insufferable know-it-all with the grace of a goblin and the face of a goddess who's convinced that Ayla's beloved Phoenix would serve the cause better as an active performer rather than a passive conservation exhibit. With the world watching and the threat of poachers looming, Ayla's success is no longer merely a matter of keeping her job. She is the keeper of the Phoenix, and the future of the species now rests on her shoulders. There's one thing she has to remember. She is also not alone. Then on August 20th, we have quite a few coming out, and we'll start off with Wisteria by Adeline Grace. This is the third deathly and decadent book in the New York Times bestselling Belladonna series. We'll read Belladonna for the first one. Orphaned as a baby, 19-year-old Signa has been raised by a string of guardians, each one more interested in her wealth than her well-being, and each has met an untimely end. Her remaining relatives are the elusive Hawthorns, an eccentric family living at Thorn Grove, an estate both glittering and gloomy. Its patriarch mourns his late wife through wild parties, while his son grapples for control of the family's waning reputation, and his daughter suffers from a mysterious illness. But when their mother's restless spirit appears claiming she was poisoned, Signa realizes the family she depends on could be in grave danger and enlists the help of the surely stable boy to hunt down the killer. However, Signa's best chance of uncovering the murderer is an alliance with Death himself, a fascinating, dangerous shadow who has never been far from her side, though he's made her life a living hell. Death shows Signa that their growing connection may be more powerful and more irresistible than she ever dared imagine. Next we have A Darkness Returns by Raymond E. Feist. As worlds collide, Hattusili, last scion of the Firemane dynasty, his beloved Hava, and their dubious friend Dante have been transported across space and time from their war-torn world of Garn to the relative peace of Mid-Chemia. There, on Sorcerer's Isle, under the guidance of the great magician Magnus and his reincarnated father Pug, Hatu will explore and expand his unique magical, for if Garn is to be saved, they will be needed. With the evil Pride Lords defeated, the Church of the One has risen to bring death and destruction to Hatu's homeworld. The kingdom of Ilkomen has fallen, and now the Church is sending forces to Marquinsus, where Dalen Dumark has declared himself king, and Master Swordsmith Declan Smith finds himself suddenly raised to the status of prince and war commander. But there are even greater menaces than the Church of the One waiting in the wings, beings from the void, creatures born of darkness. Then we have The Wind That Sweeps the Stars by Greg Keyes. Alone against an empire, when Yash of Zelta arrives in the fortress city of Hanak, she is greeted as a barbarian, a simple pawn. Her marriage to Prince Chej has been arranged, they say, to avert war. Yet she knows the truth, for the armies already ravaged the land. A skilled and deadly assassin, there is more to Yash than any might suspect. Before another day can pass, she must defeat the masters of the Nine Towers, the plagues, magics, and monsters they control, the soldiers they command. Without raising an alarm, she must kill all who oppose her, even the immortal emperor. The lives and souls of Zelta, the people and the land upon they live, all depend on it. Then we have The Last Witch in Edinburgh by Marielle Thompson. In an alternate Edinburgh of 1824, every woman lives in fear that she will be the next one hanged for witchcraft. All it takes is invoking the anger or the desire of the wrong person. Nellie Duncan, beautiful and unwed, keeps to herself until she encounters the Ray Woman's apothecary. There, Fiery Jean Ray and the other woman provide cures and teach others that they too can aid the winter deity, the Cailleach, embracing her characteristic independence, agency, and craft, in turn becoming witches themselves. Nellie finds a place and a purpose at the shop and a blossoming romance with Jean as she learns about nature-based craft and the witch's ability to return to life after death. But the Cailleach has an ancient enemy intent on stripping the power of the deity and all her witches, leaving a wake of patriarchal violence and destruction. When heartbreaking disaster strikes, Nellie flees and spends the next 2 centuries hiding from the world. Until love gives her the courage and the motivation to come back, Nellie's past is waiting for her there, and hanging witches is no longer the only means of oppression. But this time, Nellie refuses to run, either from her foes or from her resolve to awaken others to the unimaginable power that can come from fighting the patriarchy in its many forms and finding one's own magical inner strength. Then we have The Republic of Salt by Ariel Kaplan. After a near-disastrous confrontation with La Cassiera, Toba and Asmel are trapped on the human side of the gate, pursued by the Courser and the possessed Inquisitor. In the Mazic world, Naphtali's visions are getting worse, predicting the prosperous gate city of Zayt in flames and overrun by La Cassiera. Zayt is notorious for its trade in salt, a substance toxic to the near-immortals Mazics. If the Cacador can control the salt, he will be nearly unstoppable. But the stolen Killstone, the key to the Cacador's destruction, could eliminate the threat. If only Barcelay could find and use it. Deadly allies and even more dangerous bargains might be the only path to resist La Cassiera's ruthless conquest of both the mortal world and the Mazics, but the cost is steep and the threat is near. A twisty, clever entry to the Mirror Realm cycle, the Republic of Salt asks what personal moral way in the face of widespread danger and how best to care for one another. Then we have Asunder by Kirsten Hall. Karis Eska is a death speaker, locked into an irrevocable compact with Sabister, a terrifying eldritch entity. 3-faced, 100-winged, unforgiving, who has granted her the ability to communicate with the newly departed. She pays the rent by using her abilities to investigate suspicious deaths around the troubled city she calls home. When a job goes sideways and connects her to a dying stranger with a dangerous secret, her entire world is upended. Farain is willing to pay a ludicrous sum of money for her help. To save him, Karis inadvertently binds him to her shadow, an act that may doom them both. If they want to survive, they will need to learn to trust one another. Together, they journey to the heart of a fated empire, all the while haunted by arcane horrors and the unquiet ghosts of their past. And all too soon, Karis knows her debts will come due. Then on August 24th, we have Potions and Proposals by Kate Callahan. In the mystical town of Foxford, tenacious translator Lucinda Hawthorne is on the brink of assuming the prestigious role of High Priestess. However, fate has a mischievous twist in store for her. An unexpected coven gathering reveals that her lifelong nemesis, Benedict Matherson, is also nominated for the esteemed position. They are presented with a grave ultimatum: either become magically bound to one another on All Hallows Eve, or risk a fateful vote that could strip them of everything. Both fiercely independent and driven by their unwavering desires to lead, Lucinda and Benedict reluctantly agree to the binding ritual. Unfortunately, the spell Lucinda's family casts to thwart the Coven's plot misfires with surprising consequences, and the pair find themselves magically intertwined in ways they could never have foreseen. With the shadow of All Hallows Eve looming over them, the veil between love and hate blurs. Could it be that amidst their rivalry, they will unearth a hidden longing to remain united? Together, they must confront the demons and discover whether they truly desire to be parted after all. Then on the 27th, we have quite a few coming out. We will start with Truly, Madly, Magically by Hazel Beck, a witch cursed to tell the truth, and the man who won't let her lie to herself anymore. Cursed by her own mother to always tell the truth and one of the only half-witches around, Elwyn Good has never considered herself an equal part of the Riverwood Coven. But when the Joywood, the evil rulers of the witching world, target her directly, she begins to wonder why they want her gone. She'll need to work with her newly formed coven to survive, which includes dealing with her first love, past wreckage, and a whole new complication she didn't see coming. With their fates in the balance, Elwyn will have to learn to trust Xander again, or to be doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, assuming they all survived Joywood's last bid for absolute power over the witching world. Then we have Practical Rules for Cursed Witches by Kayla Cottingham. Magic is in Delilah B's blood. Her absentee father is the world's most famous curse breaker, while all the women in her family are fated to never find true love. So when Delilah graduates her magical training and must complete her calling, she has the perfect task in mind: to break the B family curse. But Delilah's calling is hijacked by Kieran Pelumbra, a member of the wealthiest and most powerful family in the country, and breaking his curse suddenly becomes her official assignment. Every generation, a pair of Pelumbra twins are doomed, with one twin draining the other of their life and magic. Each day, Kieran grows weaker, while Briar gets closer to something monstrous. As Delilah and the twins set out on their quest, they quickly realize that breaking the Pelumbra curse isn't going to be simple. For one, the Pelumbra family doesn't actually want their curse broken, and they've sent hunters after them to ensure they fail. Secondly, it's Briar. There's just something about her that gets under Delilah's skin and makes her want to kiss the perpetually grumpy look off her face. But with time running out for the twins and Delilah's own curse getting in the way, they may not stand a chance of finding their happily ever after. Then we have The Enchanted Lies of Celeste Artois by Ryan Groudon. Once Celeste Artois had dreams of being an artist, but when the creative elite of Paris dashed those plans, she turned her talents to forgery and cons. She and the Enchantresses, her two fellow thieves and best friends, see Paris as a rich hunting ground for marks. Yet even though their hideout in Père Lachaise cemetery is bursting with Franks, Celeste cannot resist. There is also more to take, and the blood she has begun to cough into her handkerchief means her time is running out. But everything changes when she encounters Rafe, a mysterious and beautiful stranger who leads her to an enchanted salon, a place where artists can bring wondrous imaginations to life. Celeste is captured by the establishment and learns of an existence of magical Paris, hidden in the pockets and alleys of the ordinary world, if one only knows where to look. Rafe offers Celeste an irresistible gift of time in exchange for lending him and his benefactor her forging talents. But one must be careful making deals with devils, and there's more to this hidden world than meets the eye. Shadows have begun to circle Paris, and soon the Enchantresses will find that true magic is far more powerful and deadly than they ever imagined. Last on the 27th, we have Between Dragons and Their Wrath by Devin Madsen. The old kingdom of Pycha has been split into city-states, but there are those who seek to reunite the shattered realm, by force if necessary. Amidst the turmoil, there are three who will find their destinies inextricably tangled. Keshe is a glassblower's apprentice who becomes a tribute bride when her city is conquered by the south. In the enemy's court, she's perfectly placed to sabotage them, but her heart has other plans. Hayley is a laundress in the house of the eccentric alchemist who is awakening to strange new powers. When radicals approach her, she faces a choice between keeping her magic to herself and using it to change the world. And in the desolate Shield Mountains, Dragon Rider Ash protects the cities from the monsters in the Lepeo sands beyond. But soon, he'll have to learn how to protect his dragon when hunters unlock the secrets to killing them. As war sweeps the land, Keshe, Hayley, and Ash must fight for survival against political enemies, dragon hunters, and monsters both within and without. And then last, on the 29th, we have The Grey Prophecy by Maria A. Eden. If you come to kill a witch who delivers a prophecy, it won't come to be. As a child, Corey delivered a prophecy that foretold all witches practicing dark magic would lose their power on a future winter solstice. When she spoke the words aloud, it put a target on her back and tied her fate to a ticking clock. After a decade of hiding and pushing away her magic, Corey moves to the idyllic town of Farley, Maine. She has one goal: keep her head down while counting down the days until the prophecy comes to pass. But the town and the people that live there are not what she expected. When Corey meets Adrian Huxley, a local water elemental witch, her secret is no longer safe. The closer she gets to him, the harder it is to suppress her magic. When a visitor from the past makes her question the real reason she was sent into hiding, and the loyalty of the family she swore to protect, she realizes her life is not the only one in danger. And there you have it. That's all the new releases coming out in August that I could find. Please put in the comments any others that I happen to miss, any self-published authors that I missed. Please put your books down in the comments. I want to try and promote as many books as I can in these monthly videos. And with that said, I hope you had a good time with this video and found some books that sound interesting to you. Some of them definitely sound pretty interesting to me. I hope I see you in the next one. See ya.